The Mafia boss controlled the entire city, but on New Year's Eve, he couldn't get a single table. Then a struggling single mom waved him over to share hers. What she didn't know, that one act of kindness would make him give up his empire to protect her. Marco DeLuca had never been told no in 17 years. Tonight, he'd heard it 6 times. "I'm sorry, sir. We're completely booked." The hostess at Marcello's didn't recognize him. Her smile was professionally apologetic, nothing more. Marco stood in his $1,000 coat, snow melting on his shoulders, and felt something he hadn't experienced since he was 19 years old. Rejection. "Check again," he said quietly.
She did.
Her manicured fingers scrolled down the tablet screen.
"I'm afraid."
"I understand," Marco turned before she could finish. Outside, his driver waited by the black Mercedes, engine running. Marco waved him off and started walking. 6th restaurant. 6th rejection. It wasn't supposed to be like this. Power meant options. Power meant the best table, the finest wine, the chef coming out personally to shake your hand. But power, apparently, didn't mean much when you forgot to make a reservation on New Year's Eve and your assistant had quit 3 days ago after his daughter saw something she shouldn't have. Marco pulled his coat tighter. The city glittered around him, couples streaming past in their party clothes, laughing, drunk on possibility. Somewhere in the distance, someone was already setting off fireworks. Illegal, but who cared?
It was almost midnight.
His phone buzzed. He ignored it. Probably Vincent, wondering where he was. The family meeting at the warehouse could wait.
They always did.
Business on New Year's Eve was bad luck anyway. Marco turned down 7th Street, away from the restaurant district. His stomach growled. When was the last time he'd felt actual hunger? His meals came on schedule, prepared by someone else, eaten while reading reports or taking calls. Food was fuel. But tonight, fuel sounded good. He spotted a small place wedged between a closed shoe repair shop and a laundromat. Rose's Diner, the neon sign flickered, the R barely holding on. Through the steamed window, he could see it was nearly empty.
Perfect.
Marco pushed open the door. A bell chimed. The warmth hit him immediately, along with the smell of coffee and something fried. Behind the counter, an older woman with gray hair and tired eyes looked up from her crossword puzzle. "Kitchen's about to close, honey," she said. "Just need something simple." Marco approached the counter. "Whatever's easy." She studied him for a moment, the expensive coat, the watch, the way he carried himself. Then she shrugged. "Burger and fries, okay?" "Perfect. Seat yourself. I'll bring it out." Marco scanned the diner. A old man nursed coffee in the corner booth. 2 teenagers shared a milkshake near the window, oblivious to everything but each other. And in the back, partially hidden by a support beam, sat a woman and a small girl. Every other table had at least one empty chair. Except theirs. Marco chose a 2-top near the window and sat with his back to the wall. Old habits. The waitress, Rosa, presumably, brought him water without asking. 10 minutes on that burger.
Marco Nadith.
He checked his phone. 11:47 p.m. 13 minutes until the new year. Vincent had called twice more. Marco silenced the phone and set it face down on the table. "Excuse me?" He looked up. The woman from the back table stood a few feet away, one hand resting on her daughter's shoulder. She was younger than he'd thought, maybe 30, with dark hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. Her coat was thin, patched at one elbow. The girl beside her couldn't have been more than 7, clutching a worn stuffed rabbit. "I'm sorry to bother you," the woman said. "But I noticed you're eating alone," and she hesitated, then gestured toward the back. "We have more room at our table if you'd like to join us."
For the countdown.
It seemed sad, eating alone on New Year's Eve. Marco stared at her. In his world, people didn't approach him. They waited to be summoned. They calculated every word. This woman looked at him with simple kindness, nothing more. "I don't want to intrude," he heard himself say. "You're not," she smiled. It reached her eyes.
"I'm Anna."
"This is Sophie." The girl waved shyly.
"Marco stud." "Marco."
He followed them to the back booth, sliding in across from Anna while Sophie wiggled into the seat beside her mother. Their table had the remains of grilled cheese sandwiches and tomato soup. A small budget, stretched carefully. "We always go out on New Year's Eve," Anna explained, catching his glance. "It's our tradition." Sophie's father, she paused. "It's just us now. But we keep the tradition." "That's nice," Marco said and meant it. Rosa appeared with his burger and a raised eyebrow at the new seating arrangement. She set the plate down without comment. "Would you like some?" Marco pushed the fries toward the center of the table. Sophie's eyes widened, but she looked to her mother first. "We already ate," Anna said gently. "I can't finish these." Marco took one fry, then pushed the basket closer to Sophie. "I'd hate to waste them." Anna hesitated, then nodded. Sophie's small hand darted out, grabbing a fry with the precision of someone who understood the value of food. "What brings you to Rosa's on New Year's Eve?" Anna asked. "Couldn't get a table anywhere else." She laughed. "Welcome to the club. Though, I think our reasons are different." "Maybe not as different as you think." They fell into easy conversation. Anna worked 2 jobs, morning shifts at a hospital laundry, afternoons at a call center. Sophie was in 2nd grade, loved drawing, hated math. They lived 4 blocks away. The diner was their splurge, once a month, sometimes less.
Marco listened.
He didn't talk about himself. What would he say? "I run the largest criminal organization in the city. I've ordered things you can't imagine. People fear me so much they won't even meet my eyes." Instead, he asked questions. About Sophie's favorite subject, art. About Anna's hometown, a small place upstate gone now. About the stuffed rabbit, Mr. Hopscotch, a gift from Sophie's grandmother. Rosa turned on the small TV behind the counter. Times Square filled the screen, the ball descending slowly. "1 minute," someone shouted from the front. Anna checked her watch, a cheap digital thing that had seen better years. "Make a wish, baby." Sophie closed her eyes tight, lips moving silently. Marco watched them, mother and daughter, holding hands across the table, hoping for something better. When was the last time he'd hoped? When had he stopped believing in wishes? The countdown began.
10, 9.
8 inch. Anna opened her eyes and caught Marco looking at them. She didn't look away. Neither did he.
3, 2.
1. Happy New Year. Fireworks exploded outside. The teenagers kissed. The old man raised his coffee cup to no one. "Happy New Year," Anna said softly. "Happy New Year," Marco replied. And for the first time in 17 years, Marco DeLuca felt something he couldn't name. Something that had nothing to do with power or control or respect earned through fear. He felt like just a man, sharing a table with strangers who didn't know his name meant danger. Sophie yawned, and Anna laughed. "Time to get you home, sleepyhead." Marco stood when they did. "Old-fashioned," his mother would have said. "Thank you for the company," Anna said. "It was nice not to be alone." "Thank you for inviting me." They bundled into their thin coats. Marco watched them leave, Sophie's hand in Anna's, Mr. Hopscotch tucked under her arm. Rosa came to clear the table. "You didn't touch your burger." Marco looked down. She was right.
"So
No refunds, but her voice was gentle. "Those 2 come in once a month. Like clockwork. Anna always orders the cheapest thing and makes sure Sophie eats first." Rosa picked up the plates. "Nice of you to share those fries." Marco left a $100 bill under his water glass. Outside, his phone showed 23 missed calls. But for the first time in years, Marco DeLuca walked home slowly, his hands in his pockets, watching the snow fall, feeling almost human. Almost. Marco didn't go home. He found himself walking the same 4 blocks Anna and Sophie had taken, keeping a careful distance. Not following them, just making sure they got home safe. The streets were loud with celebration, people spilling out of bars, firecrackers popping in alleyways. Dangerous, for a woman and child alone. He watched them enter a narrow apartment building with peeling paint and a broken intercom. The door didn't lock properly. Marco made a mental note, then stopped himself. What was he going to do? Have someone fix a random building's security? Yes, a voice in his head answered. That's exactly what you're going to do. He pushed the thought away and headed toward his penthouse on the east side. The doorman greeted him with practiced invisibility. The elevator rose silently. His apartment waited, 3,000 square feet of marble and leather and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Empty. Always empty. Marco poured himself whiskey he wouldn't drink and stood at the window. Below, the city sparkled. Somewhere out there, Anna was probably tucking Sophie into bed, reading her story, kissing her forehead goodnight. Simple things. Normal things. Things Marco would never have.
His phone rang.
Vincent, again. Where the hell were you? Vincent's voice was tight. We had a situation. Handle it. I did. But Marco, you can't just disappear on New Year's Eve. People notice. They talk. Let them talk. Silence on the other end. Then, you okay, boss?
Fine.
What was the situation? Vincent explained something about a shipment and a disagreement with the Russians. Marco listened with half his attention, giving orders automatically. The words came easily, they always did. This was the language he spoke fluently. Violence. Negotiation. Control. But his mind was still in that diner. It seemed sad, eating alone on New Year's Eve. When had anyone cared if he was sad?
Marco?
You there? Handle the Russians the usual way. I'm going to bed. He hung up before Vincent could respond. But Marco didn't go to bed. He stood at that window until dawn, watching lights flicker off across the city, wondering which one belonged to a cramped apartment with a single mother and a girl who loved drawing. Wondering what they'd wished for at midnight. For blocks away, Anna locked their apartment door and tested the handle twice. The building wasn't safe, but it was what they could afford.
Barely.
Sophie was already asleep on the couch, their only couch, which folded out into their only bed. Anna covered her with a quilt her mother had made, the one nice thing they'd carried from their old life. She made herself tea with a reused bag and sat in the kitchen chair, the one without the wobble. Outside, people were still celebrating. Anna felt the familiar weight of another year settling on her shoulders. One more year of barely making it. One more year of smiling at Sophie, pretending everything was fine. But tonight had been different. That man, Marco. He'd looked so lost standing in that diner, so out of place in his expensive clothes. Anna recognized that look. She'd seen it in her own mirror often enough. Loneliness. It didn't care how much money you had. He'd been kind, though. Gentle with Sophie. The way he'd pushed those fries across the table, pretending he couldn't finish them. Anna had seen the calculation in his eyes, making sure Sophie could accept without it feeling like charity. Most people didn't think like that. She sipped her weak tea and made her own New Year's resolution, the same one as last year. Keep going.
For Sophie.
Always for Sophie. The radiator clanked but produced no heat. Anna pulled her cardigan tighter. The landlord had promised to fix it before winter. That was 3 months ago. She thought about Marco again, wondered briefly what his life was like. Probably warm apartments and meals that didn't come from the discount section. But he'd been alone too. Maybe money couldn't buy everything. Anna finished her tea and climbed carefully into bed beside Sophie, trying not to wake her. Sophie stirred, clutching Mr. Hopscotch tighter. Mama, she mumbled, still mostly asleep. I'm here, baby. Did you make a wish? Anna smoothed Sophie's hair back. I did.
Me too.
I wished for, Sophie yawned. I wished you didn't have to be so tired. Anna's throat tightened. She pulled Sophie closer. That's a very good wish. What did you wish for?
Anna thought about it.
She'd wished for the same thing she always wished for. Enough. Enough money. Enough time. Enough strength to keep protecting this small, perfect person who trusted her completely. But she said, I wished for us to be happy. And we are, aren't we? Sophie nodded against her shoulder.
Yeah.
Tonight was fun. That man was nice. He was. Do you think we'll see him again? Anna thought about the expensive watch, the tailored coat, the way he'd carried himself like someone important. Their worlds had overlapped for 1 hour, in one diner, on one night of the year when anything felt possible. Probably not, sweetheart. But that's okay. Some people are just meant to be in our lives for a little while. Sophie accepted this with a child's easy wisdom and drifted back to sleep. But Anna stayed awake, listening to the building settle and creak around them, wondering about the sad man who couldn't get a table on New Year's Eve. Wondering if he'd made it home safe. Wondering if he had anyone waiting for him. Marco woke at 6, like always. His body didn't understand holidays. The penthouse was silent except for the hum of the climate control system maintaining a perfect 70 degrees. His bed was California King, Egyptian cotton sheets, a mattress that cost more than most people made in a month. He'd slept 4 hours and woke feeling like he'd slept none. He made espresso in his imported Italian machine and stood at the window again. New Year's Day. The city looked hungover, streets quiet, confetti scattered like abandoned dreams. His phone showed 37 messages. He ignored them all. Instead, Marco did something he hadn't done in years. He made himself breakfast. Scrambled eggs, slightly burned. Toast, too dark on one side. Coffee that was actually too strong, even for him. It tasted better than anything his private chef had ever prepared. He ate standing at the kitchen island, and when he was done, he didn't know what to do with the dirty pan. Where did it go? Did it go in that large appliance, the dishwasher? He stared at it for a full minute before leaving it in the sink. Someone would handle it. Someone always handled it. Marco showered, dressed in casual clothes that still cost a fortune, and realized he had nowhere to go. No meetings on New Year's Day.
No obligations.
Just empty hours stretching ahead. He thought about Anna's words. It seemed sad. Eating alone on New Year's Eve. What about eating alone every day?
His phone rang.
Vincent. Happy New Year, Marco answered. We need to talk about the Russian situation. I said handle it. I did. But there's something else. Vincent paused. There's been talk.
About you.
People noticed you weren't at any of the usual places last night. So it makes you look weak. Unpredictable. Marco laughed, a sound without humor. I missed one party, Vincent. In our world, that's enough. You know that.
He did know that.
Image was everything. Reputation was currency. Show weakness once, and the wolves started circling. I'll be at the office tomorrow, Marco said. Regular schedule.
Good.
That's good, Vincent sounded relieved. By the way, Happy New Year, boss. Marco hung up and looked around his penthouse. 2,300 square feet of nothing that mattered. Anna woke to Sophie poking her cheek. Mama, the heat's not working again. Anna could see her breath in the morning light. She pulled Sophie back onto the quilt. I know, baby. Come here. We'll warm up together. They lay there for a few minutes, Sophie's small body pressed against hers. Anna calculated quickly. Landlord wouldn't answer on a holiday. Space heater might help, but they'd already blown a fuse last month running it too much. Electric bill was already high. How about we have a cozy day? Anna said brightly. We'll make pancakes and hot chocolate, and you can draw while I do some work. On New Year's Day. Just a little work. Anna had brought home files from the call center, data entries she could do for extra pay. Holiday rates. She couldn't afford to pass that up. They got up, Anna wrapping the quilt around both of them as they shuffled to the kitchen. The apartment was small, one room that served as bedroom and living room, a kitchenette barely big enough to turn around in, a bathroom with a shower that only worked at specific angles. But it was theirs.
And it was safe.
Mostly. Anna made pancakes with the last of their milk and eggs. She gave Sophie 3, took one for herself. Sophie didn't notice. She was chattering about a drawing she wanted to make, something with fireworks and stars. That sounds beautiful, Anna said, washing dishes in cold water because the hot water took too long to heat up and cost extra. She watched Sophie set up her drawing supplies on the floor, a handful of crayons and a plastic bag, paper she'd brought home from school. The joy on her daughter's face was complete. This, Anna thought, this is what matters. Not the broken radiator or the thin walls or the fact that she had $47 to last until her next paycheck. Not the credit card bills stacked on top of the refrigerator or the letter from Sophie's school about unpaid lunch fees. Just this moment. Sophie humming as she drew, safe and fed and loved. Anna settled at the kitchen table with her work files. The apartment was cold enough that she could see her breath, so she made another cup of tea just to warm her hands on the mug. She thought about last night, about the strange kindness of sharing a table with a stranger.
Marco. She wondered what he was doing right now.
Probably somewhere warm, somewhere comfortable. She hoped he wasn't alone. Then she pushed the thought away and focused on her data entry, her fingers slow in the cold, her mind already calculating how to stretch $47 into groceries, bus fare, and maybe, a small payment toward the rent that was coming due. Outside, the city woke slowly. In luxury penthouses and cramped apartments, people started their new year. Most would never know how the other half lived. Marco DeLuca stood at his window, staring at nothing. Anna chin bent over her work, ignoring the cold. Both of them thinking, without knowing it, about a shared table and midnight wishes. Both of them changed in ways they didn't yet understand. Marco told himself he wouldn't go back to that neighborhood. On January 3rd, he went back. He had a meeting across town, a legitimate business front that needed his signature on papers. He could have sent someone. Should have sent someone. Instead, he drove himself, and on the way back, his car somehow ended up on 7th Street. Just passing through, he told himself. Rose's Diner was closed. A handwritten sign said, "Back January 5th." Marco drove 2 more blocks, then pulled over. What was he doing? Looking for them? For what purpose? To say hello to a woman and child he'd spent 1 hour with. He was about to pull away when he saw her. Anna, walking out of a small grocery store, reusable bags in each hand. She wore the same thin coat, a knit hat pulled low against the January wind. No Sophie, probably at school. Marco watched her stop at the corner, set down one bag to check something in her purse. She pulled out a small coin purse, opened it, counted what was inside. Even from a distance, Marco could see her shoulders slump slightly. She picked up her bags and started walking. Marco got out of his car. Anna? She turned, surprised. Recognition flashed across her face, followed by genuine pleasure.
Marco.
The New Year's guy. He smiled despite himself. That's me. What are you doing in this neighborhood? She shifted her bags. You don't strike me as someone who shops at Save More. Meeting nearby. Saw you walking, he gestured at the bags. Can I help? Oh, I'm fine. It's just 2 blocks. I insist. Anna hesitated, then handed him one bag. Okay, but only because one of them has cans and my shoulder's been bothering me. They walked together. Marco glanced in the bag, store-brand everything, dented cans from the discount bin, a loaf of bread marked down for quick sale. How's Sophie? He asked.
Good.
She's been drawing non-stop since New Year's. She drew the diner, actually. Put all 3 of us at the table, Anna laughed. She made you very tall. Artistic license. She asked if we'd see you again. I told her probably not, but here you are. Anna looked at him curiously. Do you live around here?
No.
East Side. Ah, she nodded like that explained something. What do you do, Marco? For work. He'd prepared for this question. Family business. Import-export. That sounds impressive. It's mostly boring paperwork. They turned onto her street. Anna slowed as they approached her building. This is me. Marco looked up at the peeling paint, the broken interlock, the cracked concrete steps. Nice neighborhood. Anna caught something in his tone. It's not much, but the rent is. She stopped herself. It's home. I didn't mean. It's fine, but her voice had cooled slightly. Thank you for carrying the bag. Marco handed it over, feeling like he'd made a mistake, but not sure what. Anna.
Mana.
Sophie burst out of the building's front door, still in her school backpack. An older woman, maybe 70, with kind eyes, followed her out. I told you to wait inside, Sophie, the woman said. But I saw Mama. Sophie stopped when she noticed Marco. It's the New Year's man.
Marco, Anna corrected gently.
She turned to the older woman. Mrs. Chun, this is Marco. Marco, my neighbor, Mrs. Chun. She watches Sophie after school. Only until Anna gets home, Mrs. Chun said, studying Marco with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Which is usually right about now. I work until 3, Anna explained. Mrs. Chun is a lifesaver. Marco nodded at Mrs. Chun, who nodded back with the wariness of someone who'd seen enough of life to trust carefully. Did you come for dinner? Sophie asked Marco hopefully. Sophie, no, Anna said quickly. Marco is just helping me carry groceries. But we're having spaghetti. Mama makes really good spaghetti. Anna's cheeks colored. I'm sure Marco has plans. I don't, Marco heard himself say. Silence. Mrs. Chen's eyes narrowed. Anna looked caught between politeness and panic. I mean, if it's not an imposition, Marco added. But I understand if. It's just spaghetti, Anna said carefully. Nothing fancy. I like spaghetti, Sophie cheered. Mrs. Chen looked like she wanted to object, but couldn't quite find the grounds. Anna looked at Marco, like she was trying to figure out a puzzle. Okay then, she said finally. But I'm warning you, our apartment is small. I don't mind small. Mrs. Chun touched Anna's arm. I'll see you tomorrow, dear. Sophie was wonderful today, she looked at Marco. Nice to meet you, Mr. Marco. The way she said it sounded like a warning. Marco followed Anna and Sophie up 3 flights of stairs. The elevator was broken, Anna explained apologetically. The hallway smelled like cooking and old carpet. Anna unlocked 3 separate locks on her door. Welcome to our palace, she said with irony, pushing the door open. Marco stepped inside and understood immediately why Anna had tried to refuse. The apartment was smaller than his walk-in closet. Every inch was utilized, the couch bed, the tiny kitchen, the single shelf of books, the drawings taped to every available wall surface. Sophie's artwork.
Dozens of them.
Flowers and houses and stick-figure families. A child's dreams covering poverty's walls.
It's perfect, Marco said.
And strangely, impossibly, he meant it. Anna set down her groceries, watching him look around her small world. She had no idea she'd just invited a monster to dinner. But Marco, standing in that cramped apartment, felt more at home than he had in 17 years. The spaghetti was simple, store-brand pasta, sauce from a jar, a bit of garlic powder for flavor. Anna apologized twice for not having meatballs. Sophie set the table with mismatched plates and paper napkins folded into triangles. Marco ate like he was starving. This is really good, he said, and wasn't lying. Anna smiled. You're very kind, but I know it's basic. Sometimes basic is best. After dinner, Sophie showed Marco her drawings. He sat on the floor with her, looking at each one seriously, asking questions. What kind of flower was that? Why was the sky purple? Sophie answered with the confident logic of a 7-year-old, and Marco listened like she was explaining quantum physics. Anna washed dishes, watching them from the kitchen. Something about this felt wrong. Not bad wrong.
Just off.
Men like Marco, educated, wealthy, clearly from a different world, didn't sit on apartment floors with other people's children. They didn't carry groceries or eat jar sauce without complaint. Who is he really? Her phone buzzed. A text from her supervisor at the call center. Can you take a double shift tomorrow? Stacy called in sick. Anna's heart sank. Double shift meant 14 hours. Meant asking Mrs. Chun to keep Sophie late. Meant coming home exhausted. But it also meant time and a half after 8 hours. She texted back. Yes. Everything okay? Marco had stood up, leaving Sophie to color.
Fine.
Just work stuff. He nodded but looked like he wanted to say something else. Instead, I should go. It's getting late. Of course, Anna walked him to the door, which took exactly 4 steps. Thank you for dinner company. Sophie loved it. Thank you for having me. Marco paused in the doorway. Anna, if you ever need anything. We're fine, she said quickly. Too quickly. His eyes said he didn't believe her, but he nodded. Good night. Anna locked the 3 locks behind him and leaned against the door. I like him, Mama, Sophie called from the floor. Me too, baby. But he's just someone we met. Don't get too attached. Sophie didn't answer, already absorbed in her drawing. Anna started planning tomorrow's double shift and tried not to think about Marco's eyes when he looked around their apartment, not with pity, but with something else. Something that looked almost like longing. Marco's driver was waiting outside, looking relieved. Boss, Vincent's been trying to reach you. Marco got in the car and checked his phone. 12 missed calls.
He called back.
Where the hell have you been? Vincent's voice was sharp with worry. You can't just disappear in the middle of the day. Not after. After what? The Castellanos are making noise. They think you're distracted. Weak. Marco closed his eyes. I'm not weak. Then stop acting like it.
You've been off for a week, Marco.
People notice. They talk. And when they talk, they start getting ideas. What kind of ideas? The kind that get people killed. Yours or theirs, either way, it's messy. Marco looked out the window. They were driving away from Anna's neighborhood, back toward his side of the city. The buildings got taller, cleaner, more expensive with every block. I'll handle it, he said. When? Tomorrow. Set up a meeting with the Castellanos. Remind them why they don't want to test me. Vincent was quiet for a moment. You sure you're good, boss?
Ai fine.
Because if something's going on, if there's a problem, you can tell me. Marco almost laughed. What would he say? I had dinner with a single mother and her daughter, and for 90 minutes I felt like a normal person instead of a man covered in blood.
There's no problem, Marco said.
I'll see you tomorrow. He hung up and told his driver to take him home. But that night, in his empty penthouse, Marco couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about Sophie's drawings taped to those walls. About Anna counting coins in a grocery store. About the 3 locks on a door that wouldn't stop anyone who really wanted in. He opened his laptop and searched property records. Found Anna's building. Found the landlord, a man named Dmitry Volkov, known for running slum properties and ignoring violations. Marco made a note. Then he deleted it. Then he made it again. At 2 a.m., he sent an encrypted message to one of his lawyers. Nothing direct. Just a question about anonymous property investments and tenant rights. At 3 a.m., his phone buzzed. Vincent. Castellano meeting set for noon. Warehouse on 5th. Marco stared at the message. This was his world. Warehouses and threats and men who respected only violence. Not cramped apartments and jar sauce and children's drawings.
He needed to stop this.
Stop seeing Anna.
Stop thinking about her.
Stop caring whether her radiator worked or her locks held. It was dangerous for him, yes, but more importantly for her. Men in Marco's life didn't have friends. They had assets or threats. And if anyone thought Anna was important to him, he typed a response to Vincent. I'll be there. Then he looked at the note about Anna's landlord. He should delete it. He didn't. Instead, Marco DeLuca lay in his expensive bed in his climate-controlled penthouse and made a decision that would change everything. He would help Anna one more time. Anonymously.
Carefully.
Then he would disappear from her life before his shadow fell on her and Sophie. Before the monster showed them what he really was. It seemed simple. It was anything but. Anna knew something was wrong when she saw the paper taped to her door. She'd just finished her double shift, 14 hours of apologizing to angry customers about problems she couldn't fix. Her feet ached, her head pounded, and she'd missed tucking Sophie into bed. Mrs. Chun had stayed late again, refusing payment as always, which only made Anna feel worse. The notice was printed on official-looking letterhead. Notice of lease violation rent arrears. $1,847 pay within 72 hours or face eviction proceedings. Anna's hands shook as she read it.
$1,800.
She was only behind 1 month, $1,200. Where did the rest come from? She unlocked her door quietly. Mrs. Chun was asleep in the chair, Sophie curled on the couch under the quilt. Anna touched Mrs. Chun's shoulder gently. Oh, dear, I dozed off. Mrs. Chun stood stiffly. Sophie ate dinner and did her homework. She's such a good girl. Thank you. I don't know what I'd do without you.
Nonsense.
She's a joy. Mrs. Chin noticed the paper in Anna's hand. What's that? Anna tried to hide it, but Mrs. Chin was too quick. That crook, Mrs. Chin hissed, reading the notice. He's adding fees that don't exist. He does this to everyone when he wants them out. Why would he want us out? Building inspector came last week. Cited him for violations. Now he's trying to empty the building before the city makes him fix things. Mrs. Chen's face hardened. He's done this before. Forces people out, then renovates and doubles the rent. Anna's legs felt weak. I can't afford this. Even if I could, I can't afford to move. Don't you dare pay him a penny more than you, actually. Oh. But if I don't, he'll evict us. Let him try. I know a legal aid lawyer. Mrs. Chun, I can't afford a lawyer. I can barely afford groceries. The older woman's eyes softened. Anna. I'll figure it out. Anna folded the notice and tried to smile. I always do. After Mrs. Chin left, Anna sat at her kitchen table with her calculator and bank statement. The numbers didn't lie. She had $214. Rent was due in 5 days. The real rent, $1,200. Plus whatever she could negotiate this fake amount down to. She could ask for overtime. Could skip meals, make Sophie's lunches smaller. No, not that. Never that. She could call her sister in California, the one who'd told her to come home when Sophie's father left. The one who'd said, I told you, so when Anna tried to make it alone in the city. Anna would rather sleep on the street. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Hi Anna, it's Marco. Got your number from the white pages. Hope that's not weird. Just wanted to say thanks again for dinner. Sophie's drawings made my day. Anna stared at the message.
Marco.
The man who'd appeared twice in her life, like some kind of guardian angel. The man who clearly had money, who'd probably never worried about rent in his entire life. She could ask him. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard.
No.
Absolutely not. She'd known him for a total of 3 hours. You didn't ask near strangers for money, even if they seemed kind. Especially if they seemed kind. Those were the ones who'd want something in return eventually. Anna deleted the message draft. She hadn't realized she'd started typing. She responded, not weird at all.
Sophie asks about you.
Thanks for being so sweet with her. His response came quickly. She's a special kid.
You're doing a great job.
Anna's throat tightened. She typed, thanks. That means a lot. She wanted to type more. Wanted to pour out her fear and exhaustion. Wanted to ask if his offer of help had been real, if he'd meant it, if maybe. She set down her phone. Instead, Anna pulled out her laptop and started searching for weekend work. Anything. Cleaning jobs, babysitting, delivery services. She filled out applications until her eyes blurred, until the words ran together. Sophie stirred on the couch.
Nana.
Right here, baby. Are you coming to bed?
Soon.
Go back to sleep. Sophie drifted off again, trusting completely that Mama would fix everything. That trust was the heaviest weight Anna carried. She looked at the eviction notice again. 72 hours. 3 days to find $1,800 or lose the only home Sophie had ever known. Anna put her head in her hands and let herself cry, quietly, so Sophie wouldn't hear. Just for a minute. Just to release the pressure building in her chest. Then she wiped her eyes, made a plan, and started executing it. First, call the landlord in the morning, try to negotiate. Second, pick up every extra shift available. Third, sell anything she could spare. Fourth, pray. Her phone buzzed again. Marco, if you ever need anything, I mean it.
Anytime.
Anna looked at those words for a long time. Then she turned off her phone and went to bed beside her daughter. Some problems, she told herself, you had to solve on your own. She had no idea that across the city, Marco was already solving it for her, and that his solution would bring danger neither of them could imagine. Marco sat across from Dmitry Volkov in a coffee shop on neutral ground. Volkov was late 50s, thick around the middle, with the kind of tan that came from vacation homes in warm places. He wore too much cologne and a pinky ring that screamed insecurity. Mr. DeLuca, Volkov said, sizing Marco up. I don't usually take meetings with people I don't know. You'll want to take this one. Marco slid a folder across the table. Inside were property records, building violations, and a very generous offer, 20% above market value for Volkov's entire portfolio of rental properties. Volkov's eyes widened. You want to buy all of them? Through a shell company. The transaction would be completely legal, completely clean. Marco leaned back. You walk away with more money than those properties are worth, and you don't have to deal with building inspectors anymore. Why would you overpay? I'm investing in the neighborhood. Long-term development. It was a lie, but a believable one. Volkov flipped through the papers, and Marco could see the greed calculating behind his eyes.
There's one condition, Marco said.
All current tenants stay at their existing rent rates for a minimum of 2 years.
No evictions, no rent increases.
Volkov frowned. That cuts into profit margins.
I'm aware.
The offer accounts for that. I'd need to think about it. You have 24 hours, Marco stood. After that, the offer expires, and I'll pursue other properties in the area. He walked out before Volkov could respond. In the car, Vincent was waiting with a look that said they needed to talk. That was interesting, Vincent said carefully. Business is business. Business is buying up slum properties at 20% over value? Vincent turned in his seat. Marco, what's going on? Diversification. We've been too concentrated in the port operations. Bullshit, Vincent's voice was flat. I've known you for 15 years. This isn't diversification. This is personal. Marco stared out the window. Drop it, Vincent. There's a woman, isn't there? Someone in those buildings. I said drop it. Vincent fell silent, but the tension in the car was thick. Finally, the Castellanos are getting impatient. They want to know when you're meeting with them. Tell them tomorrow. You said that yesterday. Marco's jaw tightened. Then tell them I'm busy building an empire, while they're busy running their mouths. Vincent sighed. You're playing a dangerous game. On multiple fronts. I know what I'm doing.
Do you?
Because from where I'm sitting, you're making moves that don't make sense. The air went cold. Vincent knew he'd crossed a line, but he didn't back down. I'm trying to keep you alive.
That's my job.
And right now, you're not making that easy. Marco wanted to be angry, wanted to shut Vincent down completely. But the truth was, Vincent was right. Every decision he'd made in the past week had been clouded by thoughts of Anna and Sophie in that cold apartment. Handle Volkov, Marco said quietly. Make sure he takes the deal. If he doesn't, find a different way. A different way meaning what? Whatever it takes. But keep it legal. I don't want any connection back to me. Vincent studied him. And the woman? If she finds out you're behind this. She won't. And if she does. Marco didn't answer. The next morning, Anna called Dmitry Volkov's office 12 times before he answered. Mr. Volkov, this is Anna Chun in 3B. I received a notice about. Yes, the notice. Forget about it. Anna blinked. I'm sorry. The building has been sold. New ownership takes over next week. They're handling all tenant agreements. Your rent stays the same, and all those violation fees are voided. I don't understand. Sold to who? Development company.
Don't worry about it.
You're fine. Better than fine, they're fixing the heat and the security, whole 9 yards. The line went dead. Anna stood in her kitchen, phone in hand, completely confused. Buildings didn't just get sold overnight. Landlords like Volkov didn't void fees out of kindness. Her phone buzzed. A text from Marco. Hope you're having a good day. Anna stared at the message. Then at her eviction notice. Then back at the message.
No.
It was impossible. Marco couldn't have, he wouldn't. Would he? She typed. Did you do something? 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. Then appeared again. Finally, what do you mean? My landlord just called. Building's been sold. All my fees are gone. Long pause. That's great news. Must be your lucky week. Anna wanted to believe him. Wanted to accept this incredible coincidence at face value. But the timing was too perfect. She typed, Marco, if you had anything to do with this, I can't accept it. Anna, I promise you, I didn't buy your building. And technically that was true. Marco hadn't bought it. His shell corporation had, through 3 layers of legal entities that couldn't be traced back to him. Anna looked at his message. She wanted to push, to demand the truth. But Sophie was calling her, asking for breakfast, and the relief of not being evicted was overwhelming. She typed, "Okay. Thank you for being a friend." Marco stared at that word.
Friend.
He'd just committed corporate fraud and used intimidation tactics to help her. Friends didn't do that. But monsters pretending to be human did. The Castellano family noticed everything. Tony Castellano sat in his restaurant, a front for money laundering, but the pasta was legitimately excellent, and listened to his cousin Frankie talk about Marco DeLuca's recent activities. He bought up 6 buildings in the West Side. Paid over market value. Through shell companies, but we traced it back. Frankie slid photos across the table. Buildings are all low income, rent controlled. No profit in them. Makes no sense. Tony studied the photos. DeLuca doesn't make moves that don't make sense.
Exactly.
So what's he playing at? Maybe he's going soft, Tony's brother Sal suggested, laughing. Tony didn't laugh. Soft men don't run organizations like DeLuca's for 17 years. There's an angle we're not seeing. Frankie pulled out more photos. There's something else. DeLuca's been spotted in that neighborhood. Multiple times. Always alone, no security. Once he was seen carrying groceries into one of the buildings. Groceries? Sal stopped laughing. Building 447, apartment 3B. Tenant is Anna Chun. Single mother, works 2 jobs. No criminal record, no connections we can find. Frankie leaned in. Boss, I think DeLuca's got himself a girlfriend. Tony was quiet for a long moment. A civilian? Looks like it. This was interesting. Men like Marco DeLuca didn't have personal lives. They had assets and liabilities, moves and countermoves. A girlfriend, especially a poor, vulnerable one, was a weakness. And weaknesses could be exploited. Don't touch her, Tony said. Not yet. Just watch. I want to know every time DeLuca goes near that neighborhood. Every time he makes a call, sends money, anything connected to this woman. What are you thinking? Sal asked. Tony smiled. I'm thinking Marco DeLuca just gave us the leverage we've been looking for. Marco had no idea he'd been followed. He was too distracted, too focused on making sure his intervention remained anonymous. He'd ordered the building repairs through contractors who didn't know who was really paying them. He'd had the security upgraded, the heating fixed, the broken elevator finally repaired. All of it laundered through enough legal entities that Anna would never trace it back to him. Vincent had warned him. You're being sloppy. I'm being careful. Careful would be staying away from her completely. Marco had ignored him. And now, for days after the building sale, he found himself walking past Anna's apartment again, just to see if the repairs were being done. The elevator worked. The heat was on, he could feel it in the hallway. The building smelled less like mold and more like fresh paint.
Good.
He was about to leave when Sophie's voice rang out from the stairwell. Marco. She came bounding down from the 4th floor, Anna chasing after her. Sophie, slow down on the stairs. Anna stopped when she saw Marco. Her expression was complicated.
Oh.
Hi, Marco felt caught. I was just in the neighborhood. Again, Anna's tone wasn't quite accusatory, but close. You're in this neighborhood a lot for someone who lives on the east side. Sophie grabbed Marco's hand. Come see. The elevator works now. And our apartment is warm. The nice men fixed everything. That's wonderful, Marco said, not meeting Anna's eyes. It is wonderful, Anna said carefully. Almost too wonderful. Like a miracle. Mama says we're lucky, Sophie continued, oblivious to the tension. But I think someone's helping us. Like a guardian angel. Marco's throat was tight. I'm sure it's just good timing. Good timing, Anna repeated. She looked at him for a long moment. Marco, can I talk to you? Alone. I'll go see Mrs. Chun, Sophie announced, already running toward the stairs. Take the elevator, Anna called after her. Then she turned to Marco. Walk with me?
They went outside.
The January air was sharp and cold. Anna pulled her coat, still that same thin one, tighter around herself. I'm not stupid, she said quietly. Buildings like mine don't get sold overnight. Landlords like Volkov don't void fees. And contractors don't fix everything in 4 days unless someone's paying them a lot of money to work fast. Marco said nothing. The same week I tell you about my problems, they all disappear. Anna stopped walking and faced him. You did this, didn't you? Marco wanted to lie. Should lie. But looking at her, at this woman who'd shown him kindness expecting nothing in return, he couldn't. I helped, he admitted. Anonymously. Why? Because I could. That's not a reason. Because you shouldn't have to worry about heat and broken locks. Because Sophie shouldn't have to draw in a freezing apartment. Marco's voice was rough. Because for one night, you made me feel like a person instead of a... He stopped. Instead of a what? Instead of a monster. Instead of someone covered in blood. Instead of a man who'd ordered things that would horrify her. Instead of someone alone, he finished. Anna's eyes were wet. Marco, I can't accept this. It's too much. I don't even know you. You don't have to accept it. It's already done. The building is sold. The repairs are made. There's no one doing it. How much did you spend? It doesn't matter. It does to me. Her voice cracked. I can't owe someone that much. I can't. What do you want from me? The question hit him like a physical blow. Nothing. I want nothing from you. Nobody does something like this for nothing.
Marco stepped closer.
Anna, I promise you, there are no strings.
No expectations.
I just wanted to help. She searched his face, looking for the lie. But Marco was telling the truth, this one truth, at least. I don't understand you, she whispered. I don't understand myself lately. They stood in the cold, breath misting between them. Thank you, Anna said finally. I don't like it and I don't know how to feel about it, but thank you. Sophie has been so happy. Warm, safe. That matters more than my pride. Marco nodded, not trusting himself to speak. What neither of them knew was that across the street, in a dark car, Frankie Castellano was taking photos. Evidence of connection. Evidence of weakness. Evidence that would change everything. Marco's phone rang at 2 a.m. Vincent's voice was tight. We have a problem. Marco was awake instantly. Talk. The Castellanos know about the woman. They've been watching her building. They have photos of you together. Ice flooded Marco's veins. When? Been going on for at least a week. They just made their move, left a message at the warehouse. They want a meeting. Tomorrow. They specifically mentioned her name, Marco. Anna Chun. Marco was already getting dressed. Where is she now?
Home, asleep.
I've got 2 men outside her building, out of sight. She doesn't know they're there. Keep it that way. Marco's mind raced through scenarios, each worse than the last. The meeting set it up. Neutral ground. I'll handle it. Marco, they're using her as leverage. Whatever they want. I'll give it to them. Silence on the line. Then, you care about her. Actually care about her. Doesn't matter what I care about. She's a civilian. She has a kid. She doesn't get touched by our world. Little late for that. Marco closed his eyes. Vincent was right. The moment Marco had sat at that table on New Year's Eve, the moment he'd carried her groceries, the moment he'd bought that building, he'd marked her. He'd painted a target on her back just by existing near her. I'll fix this, Marco said.
How?
Whatever it takes. He hung up and stared at his reflection in the dark window. The monster was looking back at him, and for the first time in years, Marco felt genuine fear. Not for himself. For Anna.
For Sophie.
For 2 people who'd shown him kindness and were now in danger because of it. Anna woke to someone knocking on her door at 7 a.m. She opened it to find Marco standing there, looking like he hadn't slept. His usual composure was cracked around the edges.
Marco?
What's wrong? Can I come in? It's important. Anna glanced back at Sophie, still sleeping. She stepped into the hallway, closing the door quietly behind her. What's going on? Marco struggled with how to say it. How did you tell someone their life was in danger because they'd been kind to you? I need you to be very careful for the next few days, he started. Careful how? Don't talk to strangers. Don't go anywhere alone if you can help it. Keep Sophie close. Anna's face went pale. You're scaring me. What's happening?
I have
Business associates. Some of them aren't good people. They've seen us together, and they might try to use that. Use that how? Anna's voice rose. Marco, what kind of business are you in? He wanted to lie. God, how he wanted to lie. The kind that hurts people, he said quietly. The kind your daughter should never know exists. Anna took a step back. Are you some kind of criminal? Yes. The word hung between them. Anna's hand went to her mouth. I should have told you from the start, Marco continued. I should never have sat at your table, never come back, never interfered with your landlord. I've put you in danger just by knowing you, and I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry.
Oh my God, Anna's eyes were wide. Sophie, is Sophie in danger?
No.
I won't let anyone hurt her. I won't let anyone hurt you. How can you promise that? If these people are dangerous. Because I'm more dangerous, Marco's voice went cold, hard. I'm the person other dangerous people are afraid of. And I will burn down this entire city before I let them touch you or your daughter. Anna stared at him. This was a different man than the one who'd shared spaghetti with them, who'd looked at Sophie's drawings with such gentleness. This was the real Marco DeLuca. I want you to leave, Anna whispered. Right now. Anna.
No.
You've done enough. You fixed my building, you put me in danger, and now you're standing here telling me you're some kind of gangster? Her voice was shaking. I have a daughter, Marco. Her safety is the only thing that matters. And you've made her less safe just by being near us. Every word was a knife, but Marco deserved every cut. There are men watching this building, he said. You won't see them, but they're there. They work for me. They'll keep you safe until I resolve this situation. I don't want your men watching my daughter. It's not optional. Not anymore, Marco's jaw was tight. In a few days, this will be over. The threat will be neutralized. And then I'll disappear from your life, completely. But until then, please just stay alert. Anna wrapped her arms around herself. How did this happen? You seemed so normal. I'm not normal. I'm sorry I made you think I was. Behind the door, Sophie called out. Mama? Anna's face shifted immediately. All fear hidden, replaced by calm. Just a minute, baby. She looked back at Marco, and her expression was cold.
Go.
And don't come back. Anna. I mean it. Fix whatever this is and then stay away from us. We were fine before you showed up, and we'll be fine after you're gone. She went inside and closed the door. Marco heard the 3 locks engage, one by one. He stood in that hallway, feeling something he'd thought he'd killed years ago.
Shame.
Then he went to his car and made the call he'd been dreading. Vincent. Set up the meeting with the Castellanos.
Today.
And tell them I'm bringing an offer they can't refuse. What kind of offer? Marco looked up at Anna's window. The kind that ends this.
Permanently.
Marco, what are you planning? Whatever it takes. He hung up and prepared for war. Because that's what monsters did when someone threatened the few good things they'd ever known. They destroyed everything else. The meeting was set for noon at an abandoned factory on the waterfront. Marco arrived 15 minutes early with Vincent and 4 of his best men. The Castellanos were already there, Tony, Sal, and Frankie, plus their own security. Tony Castellano smiled like a shark.
Marco.
Good of you to come. Let's skip the pleasantries, Marco said. What do you want? Right to business. I like that. Tony lit a cigar, taking his time. We want the ports. Full access to your distribution network. 60-40 split, our favor. It was highway robbery. The ports were Marco's primary operation, carefully built over 15 years. Giving the Castellanos 60% would cripple his organization.
No, Marco said. No.
Tony's smile didn't waver. That's unfortunate. Because we have leverage you seem to care about. A woman. A child. Marco's hand moved to his gun. Vincent grabbed his arm. Barely perceptible. Touch them and you die, Marco said quietly. All of you. Tonight. In your sleep. Relax. Tony held up his hands. We're not animals. We don't hurt kids. But accidents happen, Marco. Buildings catch fire. Cars have brake failures. Single mothers walking home alone at night encounter bad people. The threat was clear. So here's the deal, Tony continued. You give us the ports, and we forget the woman exists. We don't follow her. We don't photograph her. We never speak her name again. Clean break. Marco's mind raced through options. He could start a war, eliminate the Castellanos completely. But wars were messy. Civilians got caught in crossfire. And Anna's building was in contested territory. He could refuse and increase security around Anna. But indefinite protection meant indefinite exposure. Eventually, someone would slip. Someone always slipped. Or he could give them what they wanted and disappear from Anna's life. Make her safe by removing himself from the equation. 50-50 split, Marco said. And you stay away from the west side completely. All of it. Not just her building, the entire neighborhood becomes neutral ground. Tony considered this. 55-45. Our favor. Done. The word tasted like ash. Tony extended his hand. Marco shook it, sealing the deal that would cost him millions, but save 2 lives that had somehow become more important than money. Pleasure doing business with you, Tony said. Oh, and Marco? Maybe next time, don't fall for civilians. Makes you weak. Marco said nothing. He turned and walked out, Vincent close behind. In the car, Vincent finally spoke. You just gave away half your empire. I'm aware. For a woman you've known for 2 weeks. For a woman and child who don't deserve to die because I was selfish, Marco stared out the window. Expand our operations in the east. We'll recoup the losses within a year. And the woman? I stay away. Completely. The protection detail remains, but at a distance. She never knows they're there. You're just going to disappear from her life? It's what's best for her. Vincent was quiet for a moment. You know, in 15 years, I've never seen you care about what's best for anyone but yourself. Then I'm evolving. Or you're becoming human. Marco almost smiled. Same thing. Anna didn't see Marco for 3 days.
She told herself she was relieved.
She'd meant what she said, he needed to stay away. But Sophie kept asking about him, kept drawing pictures with 3 people at a table, and Anna felt the loss more than she wanted to admit. On the 4th day, she got a message from an unknown number. The situation is resolved. You're safe. I'm sorry for everything.
Please tell Sophie I said goodbye.
Anna read it 5 times. That was it?
Just goodbye.
Part of her was furious. He'd upended her life, put her in danger, reveal himself to be someone she shouldn't trust, and now he was just disappearing with a text message. But another part, a part she didn't want to examine too closely, felt abandoned. She typed a response 3 times and deleted it 3 times. Finally, she wrote, "Thank you for keeping us safe. I hope you find whatever you're looking for." She didn't know if he'd respond. He didn't. Marco read her message a dozen times. "I hope you find whatever you're looking for." He'd found it briefly. In a diner on New Year's Eve. In a cramped apartment with drawings on the walls. In the smile of a woman who'd treated him like a person instead of a monster. But finding it and keeping it were different things. Monsters didn't get happy endings. They got survival.
Control.
Fear and respect. Marco deleted Anna's contact information. Deleted their text history. Removed every digital trace of their connection. Then he called his security chief. The protection detail on Anna Chin continues indefinitely. Rotation every 8 hours. They're ghosts, she never sees them, never knows they're there. Any threat, any suspicious activity, I hear about it immediately. Understood, boss. Marco hung up and looked out at his city. Somewhere out there, Anna was making dinner for Sophie. Reading her a story. Tucking her in safe and warm. She would never know that Marco DeLuca watched over them from a distance. That he'd sacrificed half his empire to keep them safe. That for 2 weeks, a poor single mother and her daughter had given him something money couldn't buy, a glimpse of the life he could have had if he'd made different choices. Marco poured himself a drink he wouldn't finish and made a promise to himself. Anna and Sophie would live their lives free from his shadow. They would never know how close they'd come to his world's darkness. And he would never allow himself to care about anyone like that again. It was the kindest thing a monster could do. Let the good things go before he destroyed them. 3 weeks passed like winter slowly, surrendering to spring. Marco dismantled his operation piece by piece, surgical and precise. The Castellanos got their 55% of the ports, but Marco had been careful. He shifted his remaining resources into legitimate businesses, real estate, import companies with actual legal products, investments that couldn't be traced to anything criminal. It was a slow exit, but it was an exit nonetheless. Vincent watched it happen with something like, "Aw, you're actually doing it. You're getting out." "Not completely," Marco said, reviewing contracts in his office. "Just restructuring. You have an order to hit in 3 weeks. You've turned down 2 territorial disputes. You're liquidating assets." Vincent leaned against the desk. "This is because of her, isn't it?" Marco didn't answer. "You know she'll never know," Vincent continued. "She'll never know you changed your entire life because you had dinner with her." "Good. That's how it should be." But the truth was more complicated. Anna hadn't changed Marco. She'd shown him what he'd lost. Every dirty dollar, every violent solution, every time he'd chosen power over humanity, he'd been walking away from the possibility of nights like that New Year's Eve.
Simple. Clean. Real.
He couldn't have that life. Not with his history. But he could stop making his history worse. "What will you do?" Vincent asked. "When it's all legitimate." Marco hadn't thought that far ahead. "I don't know. Something quiet." Vincent laughed. "You? Quiet. People change." "Yeah," Vincent said softly. "I'm starting to see that." Marco's phone buzzed with a report from a security detail. He read it quickly. Subject arrived home from work 6:47 p.m. Child with her. Both entered building safely. No suspicious activity. It was the same report he got every day. Anna going to work, picking up Sophie, coming home. Living her life with no idea someone was watching over her. Marco deleted the message, like he always did. Anna's life had gotten unexpectedly better, and she didn't understand why. First, her supervisor at the call center had offered her a promotion, a coordinator position that paid $3 more per hour and had better hours. She'd applied for it months ago and been rejected. Suddenly, they reconsidered. Then Sophie's school called about a private scholarship that would cover her school lunches and supply fees for the rest of the year. Anonymous donor, they said. Nothing required from Anna except acceptance. Then her apartment building announced rent would be frozen for 2 years as part of the new ownership development plan. It was too much to be coincidence. Anna knew, somewhere in her rational mind, that Marco was probably behind all of it. But she couldn't prove it. She tried to find information about the building's new owners, just corporate names that led to more corporate names, a maze of legal entities. She tried to contact Marco directly, but his number no longer worked. It was like he'd vanished. "Do you think we'll see Marco again?" Sophie asked one evening, coloring at the table. Anna measured her words carefully. "I don't think so, baby. Did we make him mad?"
"No, sweetheart."
Marco just. He had to go back to his own life. Sometimes people come into our lives for a little while and then have to leave. Sophie considered this seriously. Like angels? Maybe like that. "I'm going to draw him a picture anyway, in case we see him." Anna watched her daughter sketch a figure in a dark coat, standing under stars. She felt that familiar ache. Gratitude mixed with anger mixed with something she refused to name. Marco had helped them.
Protected them.
Then disappeared like smoke. She should be grateful he was gone. So, why did she keep looking for him in crowds? Why did her heart jump every time someone tall walked past the diner? Why did she find herself hoping, despite everything, that he'd text again? Anna pushed the thoughts away and focused on her blessings: a warm apartment, a better job, Sophie safe and happy. Whatever Marco was, whatever he'd done, he'd given them stability. That had to be enough. On a cold February evening, Marco drove past Anna's building one last time. He shouldn't have. It violated every rule he'd set for himself. But he needed to see them one final time before he completely severed this last thread. The lights were on in apartment 3B. Through the window, he could see movement. Sophie at the table, Anna in the kitchen. Normal. Safe. Ordinary. Beautiful. Marco sat there for 5 minutes, memorizing the scene. Then he drove away and didn't look back. The next morning, he transferred the building, along with the other 5 properties, into a permanent trust with specific instructions. Anna Chen's rent would never increase. Any maintenance issues in her apartment would be priority repaired. When Sophie turned 18, a college fund would be available in her name. All of it anonymous. All of it untraceable. Marco signed the papers and felt something close to peace. He'd been a monster for 17 years. He couldn't erase that. But he could stop creating new victims. He could protect the few people who'd seen him as human. And he could disappear from their lives before his shadow touched them again. Vincent found him that evening, staring out at the city. "It's done?" Vincent asked. "It's done. Any regrets?" Marco thought about a diner on New Year's Eve. A table shared with strangers. A moment of connection that had changed everything. "No," he lied. Vincent nodded and left him alone. Marco stood at his window and watched the city transform from day to night, knowing that somewhere out there, Anna was reading Sophie a bedtime story. And neither of them knew that the lonely mafia boss who couldn't get a table had given them everything he could, from a distance, in silence, asking nothing in return. It was the closest thing to love a monster could offer. Spring came to the city with unexpected gentleness. Marco stood in front of Rosa's diner for the first time in 3 months. The flickering R had been fixed. Through the window, he could see Rosa wiping down tables, preparing for the dinner rush. He shouldn't be here. He'd promised himself he'd stay away from this neighborhood completely. But today was different. Today was the anniversary. 1 year since New Year's Eve. 1 year since a poor single mother had waved him over to share her table. Marco pushed open the door. The bell chimed, the same as it had that night. Rosa looked up and froze. Then her weathered face broke into a smile. "Well, look who finally came back. I was wondering if I'd ever see you again."
Rosa. Sit anywhere, honey.
"You want coffee?" "Please." Marco chose the same booth in the back. The table where it had all begun. Rosa brought him coffee without asking how he took it. She remembered. Black, no sugar. "You here alone tonight?" she asked. "Yeah." "That's a shame. You seemed happy when you were here with Anna and Sophie." Marco's chest tightened at their names. "You remember them?" "Of course I remember. They used to come in once a month, like clockwork." Rosa smiled. "They still do, actually. First Friday of every month. Anna got some kind of promotion at work. She can afford to come more often now, but she says she likes the tradition." "That's good. That's really good." Rosa studied him with those sharp, kind eyes. "You should know, Anna asks about you sometimes. Just casual, like she's wondering if you'll walk through that door." "She shouldn't wonder about me." "Maybe not. But people don't always do what they should, do they?" Rosa patted his shoulder. "I'll get you some pie. On the house." She walked away, leaving Marco alone with his memories. He looked at the spot where Sophie had sat, explaining her drawings. Where Anna had smiled at him like he was just a tired man who needed company. Where, for 1 hour, he'd been Marco, not DeLuca, not boss, not the monster who gave orders that ended lives. Just Marco. His phone buzzed. A text from Vincent. "The last transfer went through. You're officially legitimate. Congratulations." Marco stared at the message. 1 year of careful dismantling, and it was finally done. The ports were the Castellanos' problem now. His remaining businesses were clean, legal, profitable. He'd kept only one crew, the men who protected Anna and Sophie from a distance. That was the only piece of his old life He refused to surrender. Rosa brought him apple pie. You know what I think. What's that? I think you're sitting here hoping they'll walk through that door. Marco didn't deny it. It's their Friday, Rosa said gently. They usually come around 7. Marco checked his watch. 6:47, 13 minutes. He should leave. Should finish his pie and walk out and never come back. Anna had asked him to stay away. She'd been right to ask that. But his feet wouldn't move. At 6:58, the bell chimed. Marco's heart stopped. Anna walked in with Sophie, both of them bundled in new coats, warmer ones, better quality. Sophie had grown. Her hair was longer. She was talking animatedly about something, making Anna laugh. They looked happy, healthy, safe. Anna spotted Rosa first.
Rosa.
Our usual table. She stopped mid-sentence. She'd seen him. For a long moment, they just stared at each other across the diner. Sophie followed her mother's gaze.
Marco.
Sophie's face lit up like a sunrise. Mama, it's Marco. Before Anna could stop her, Sophie ran to the booth. Marco stood automatically. You came back. Sophie hugged him, without hesitation. I drew you so many pictures. Mama said we might not see you again, but I knew we would. Marco looked over Sophie's head at Anna. She'd gone very still, her expression unreadable.
Hi, Sophie, he managed.
You've gotten tall. I'm in 3rd grade now. And Mama got a promotion. And our building is really nice now, and Sophie paused, suddenly shy. Did you come to have dinner with us? Sophie, Anna said quietly, walking over. Let Marco finish his pie. He's probably just passing through. Actually, Marco heard himself say, I was hoping you might have room at your table. If that's okay. Anna's eyes searched his face, looking for danger, for ulterior motives, for the monster she'd sent away. But Marco had spent a year becoming someone different. Not good, he'd never be good. But better, quieter, more human. Please, Mama? Sophie begged. Anna was quiet for a long moment. Then, one condition. Anything. Tell me the truth. All of it. No more secrets.
Marco nodded slowly.
Okay. They sat at the table, the same table from a year ago. Rosa brought menus, her eyes twinkling. Sophie talked nonstop about school and her drawings and how their apartment had heat now, and wasn't it amazing? Anna watched Marco carefully, waiting. When Sophie got up to look at the small TV with Rosa, Anna leaned forward. The building. The scholarship. My promotion. Somehow, I think you recommended me to my boss, though I can't prove it. All of it. That was you, wasn't it? Yes. Why? Because you invited me to your table when no one else would. Because you treated me like a person. Because Marco stopped, then decided on complete honesty. Because you and Sophie reminded me what I'd lost. What I could still choose. And what did you choose? To be better. To protect the good things instead of destroying them. He met her eyes. I'm out, Anna. Completely out of that life. It took a year, but I'm done. Anna absorbed this. Can I believe you? I don't know, but I'd like the chance to prove it. Sophie came running back. Can Marco come to our apartment after? I want to show him all my drawings. Anna looked at her daughter, then at Marco. Measuring risk. Measuring truth. Finally, she said, okay, but we're taking it slow. Very slow. However slow you need, Marco said. They ordered dinner, grilled cheese for Sophie, soup for Anna, a burger for Marco that he actually ate this time. And as fireworks from some distant celebration lit up the sky outside, someone's party, someone's joy, Marco DeLuca sat at a table with Anna and Sophie Chun and felt something he hadn't felt in 17 years. Hope. Not for redemption. Monsters didn't get redeemed. But for something simpler. Something better. A chance to be human. A chance to protect instead of destroy. A chance to sit at this table, month after month, year after year, and prove that one act of kindness could change everything. Anna caught him smiling and raised an eyebrow. What? I just realized something. What's that? I never got a table that New Year's Eve. couldn't get a reservation anywhere in the city. Marco gestured at their booth. But this was always the right table. Anna's expression softened. Yeah, maybe it was. Sophie held up her drawing, 3 people at a table, under stars and fireworks. This is us, she announced proudly. We're family. Anna started to correct her, to explain that Marco was just a friend, that family was complicated, but Marco spoke first. Can I keep that? He asked Sophie. It's really beautiful. Really, really. Sophie beamed and handed it over. Marco looked at the drawing, 3 stick figures, holding hands, smiling. A child's simple vision of what they could become. Maybe monsters didn't get redemption. But maybe if they tried hard enough, if they chose differently, if they were given grace by people like Anna and Sophie, maybe they got something better. They got a second chance. And this time, Marco DeLuca wasn't going to waste it. Outside, the city hummed with a million stories. But inside Rosa's diner, at a small table in the back, 3 people shared a meal and began, slowly, carefully, hopefully, to build something new. Not perfect, not easy, but real. And that was enough.